Collateral damage is a military term for civilian casualties of a military target. Normally applied to theaters of combat, there is, however, another more ominous meaning to the term. World War II was fought between 1939 and 1945. 405,399 Americans lost their lives in that war. 78,979 were deemed missing in action, body not recovered.
My husband, First Lieutenant Douglas Head, was a navigator on a B-24 bomber, which was shot down on March 8, 1944, over Wewak, New Guinea. Remains were never found. The crew was all lost that day, the entire crew.
Fought between 1950 and 1953, 54,246 Americans were killed in the Korean War. 8,196 of these were lost, designated missing in action.
My brother's name was Captain Halbert C. Unruh. He was declared missing in action April 4th, 1951, over North Korea.
The war in Vietnam was fought from 1960 to 1974. Out of 58,220 Americans killed in this lengthy conflict, Vietnam saw 2,504 listed as MIAs.
I am a sister of a man who was serving in Vietnam and became missing in action on September 21st, 1966.
Our nation has over 83,000 American servicemen listed as missing in action. These are soldiers, sailors, and air crews sent on combat missions and never seen again. America is the only nation that believes the remains of our fallen warriors from every field of combat should always be recovered and returned to be buried on American soil. As a nation, America never stops looking for its fallen warriors. Ever.
He completed 51 of those missions successfully and had written home that he would packed up and on his way. And of course we were also terribly delighted. And he didn't come home on his 51st mission. He did go up, and he was apparently shot down. There have been so many different versions, it's hard to decide, which one is true, and possibly we'll never know. I wonder if you really ever accept that they're not coming back. You face reality when the years start to add up, and you know that they're an older person, they're not the person you last knew, and that no doubt he was either taken a prisoner and died in a camp, or possibly was killed in his crash. The latter, I hope. The first I learned that he might have been taken prisoner to Russia was the fact that it appeared in a California paper one night, completely unbeknownst to me that could be the case.
This was one of his very first missions on that second cruise, when his plane dropped flares on their first target, and the accompanying aircraft, the wingman, dropped bombs on the first target. And in the maneuver where they were to reconfigure that, and my brother's plane was to make a wide circle, get in the rear position, and follow the other plane which would drop flares, the other aircraft lost radar and radio communication. Shortly after that, because it was so dangerous and it was just after midnight, they really did not send out search crews to look for them. And by that time, we had been told that he was missing in action, that they would do everything they could to get him back, but the prospects were very slim.
The journey of many families of MIAs never really ends.
We really certainly hope that we will get confirmation it was his aircraft, because to think that he died instantly in the aircraft is a lot more comforting than to think he ejected and possibly was taken prisoner and tortured. Sorry. Didn't didn't expect that. Just a second, I'll try to regroup.
It took me a very long time to accept the facts of, or whatever had happened. It's very difficult hearing that someone is MIA. It's different than hearing they are dead, because there's no closure. And I really was quite a long time, and I couldn't say how long, because first there's denial, then you go through hope, and you go through all kinds of scenarios in your mind. So it takes a while.
Families often wish to have empty caskets buried at Arlington in an attempt to seek closure. Often, the ceremony is not enough.
He was offered a burial at Arlington Cemetery. It's an empty casket, but full honors, the flag, the whole bit. And he asked me to join him in that. He asked the rest of the family. And I couldn't participate because I felt it was a farce. And it did a great deal for him. It gave him closure, but it didn't do anything for me. So I didn't participate.
JPAC is the organization that's tasked with recovering anything that's possible to recover of an incident site. They've done amazing work in identifying so many people, not only from the Vietnam War, but from other wars, even back to World War II. And they're having wonderful success. They're a very dedicated task force of the investigators, the people at the Central Identification Lab who are tasked once they return with artifacts or potential remains to determine whose they are. And the technology that they have now is absolutely incredible, so that with as much as a single tooth or a bone fragment, with mitochondrial DNA, and with any family members who are still alive who can give blood samples, they are able to positively identify within just a minute fraction of a percentage that this is the remains of a known individual.
Firing party! Fire 3 volley!
Even if there are no living relatives, our nation inters the remains of our fallen heroes with a full military honor guard burial. Such is the tradition of our country, and a promise made to our military kept.